Patrick Bateman. At first glance, Patrick Bateman looks like the perfect young investment banker living in New York during the late 1980s. Behind his expensive suits and polished manners, however, is someone who feels almost completely empty. In American Psycho, he spends his days chasing status and luxury while secretly committing acts of shocking violence. One reason he remains so disturbing is that the story constantly blurs the line between reality and imagination, leaving people to question how much actually happened. Whether the murders were real or not, Bateman represents a world where greed, vanity, and the obsession with appearance slowly erase every trace of humanity. Johann Liebert. Johann Liebert is the central villain of the manga and anime monster. He rarely raises his voice or loses his calm, yet almost everyone around him ends up destroyed. Rather than relying on physical strength, Johann manipulates people's fears, regrets, and hidden desires until they ruin themselves. He believes that human life has little value and carefully pushes others toward violence while keeping his own hands clean. His intelligence, patience, and ability to understand exactly how people think make him one of fiction's most realistic psychological villains. Griffith. Griffith is one of the main characters in the dark fantasy series Berserk. He begins as a gifted leader whose dream is to build his own kingdom, inspiring absolute loyalty from those who follow him. Everything changes when his ambition becomes more important than the lives of his closest friends. In one of the most infamous moments in manga history, he sacrifices the Band of the Hawk to gain unimaginable power and is reborn as Femto. The betrayal is so unforgettable because it comes from someone who was once admired, proving that ambition without limits can become something truly monstrous. Anton Chigurh. Anton Chigurh is the relentless antagonist of No Country for Old Men. He moves through the story with an unsettling calm, treating every murder as if it were simply another step in a routine. Unlike villains driven by anger or revenge, Chigurh believes fate decides who lives and who dies, sometimes leaving the outcome to the flip of a coin. He shows almost no emotion and follows his own strict set of rules, even when they make no sense to anyone else. That combination of quiet confidence, unpredictability, and complete lack of empathy makes him one of fiction's most chilling killers. Light Yagami. Light Yagami is the main character and eventual villain of Death Note. He begins as a brilliant student who discovers a supernatural notebook that can kill anyone whose name is written inside it. At first, he convinces himself that he's creating a better world by eliminating criminals. Over time, however, his sense of justice is replaced by arrogance and an obsession with absolute control. He manipulates friends, sacrifices innocent lives, and sees anyone who opposes him as an enemy that must be removed. Light's transformation is so unsettling because he doesn't start as a monster, he becomes one by believing that only he deserves the power to decide who lives and who dies. Sauron. Sauron is the primary antagonist of The Lord of the Rings and one of fantasy's greatest embodiments of absolute evil. Long before the events of the story, he was a powerful being who chose domination over wisdom. He forged the One Ring to control the rulers of Middle-earth and bend entire civilizations to his will. Even after losing his physical form, his influence continued to spread through fear, corruption, and temptation. Sauron's greatest strength is not simply military power, but his ability to convince others to surrender their freedom in exchange for power, showing that evil can grow just as easily through temptation as through force.